we tend not to use that term for other people when they do the exact same thing. That's bullshit. We do. Again, I said at the beginning of the show, I don't care which race you are. If you're looting, if you're theft, if you're committing any crime, you're a scumbag. Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our story today is dealing with the theft that is happening all across the state of California, specifically in these leftist ran areas like San Francisco and Los Angeles. Now, if you recall, months ago, I did a video on how these people are just going and looting CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aids, all across the state here. And they're just walking in with duffel bags, shopping carts, loading them up full of consumer goods, and just literally walking out of the store as if nothing happened. Not to be arrested, not to be tracked down. Why? Because these leftist ran areas initiated Prop 47, which says, hey, anything that's under $950 worth of goods, it's only going to be a misdemeanor. No longer is it a felony. And this has drastic consequences to how this stuff is being handled, and which is why now you're seeing an expansion of organized crime here in retail theft all across the state. This one comes from our friends over at the Daily Wire. If you're not already a member, hey, go over and become a subscriber today. And also help us out here at the Bald Brad Show by hitting that like and subscribe button. It really does help push the algorithm to send our videos out there to viewers who haven't seen my content or my channel here. And with that being said, they titled this one, Best Buy is worried about San Francisco employees quitting, quote, getting traumatized thanks to frequent thefts. It's just in this state, and I live here. So if you're new to the show, I live in Los Angeles. This is crazy, and it's only getting worse. This state is only getting worse. I have about a 5 to 6 year plan of probably getting out of this state and just buying a house in Texas, Florida, or Tennessee. I don't know yet, but it is not going in the right direction, folks. This one says Best Buy chief executive Corey Berry is concerned that retail thefts in California stores will provoke employees to quit. Yeah, if I was still an employee of Staples like I was in college, and I'm seeing this kind of theft happening, you think I'm going to want to work retail? You think I want to put my life in jeopardy by maybe one of these idiots pulling a gun on me and shooting me by accident, or shooting me on purpose, or whatever the heck is going to cause me bodily harm? I don't want to put myself in that situation, not for minimum wage. No way in hell. These are traumatic experiences, and they are happening more and more across the country, Barry told CNBC. She explained that San Francisco and other California cities represent hotspots for the thefts. Why are they hotspots? That's the question. Why are they hotspots? When we talk about why there are so many people looking for other jobs or switching careers, this of course would be something that would play into many concerns, or my concerns for our people, because again, priority one is just human safety, she said. And it's hard to deal with this potentially multiple times in one location, meaning they're literally going and looting in localities, specific localities and specific stores, because they know they can get away with it. CNBC added, she said the retailer has seen a noticeable jump in organized crime, with people coming to stores to steal consumer electronics, and in some cases bringing a weapon such as a gun or a crowbar. She said the company will prioritize the safety of customers and employees, even if that means criminals are running out the door with thousands of dollars of merchandise. Now, what are these companies having to do? Is they're having to now increase security at these locations, which is ultimately going to cost the price of goods and services in those specific locations to go up. Now, the left will say, well, that's not true. That's trickle-down economics. It's not going to trickle down to the consumer. False. Walgreens closed 5 stores in San Francisco, and a spokesperson for Walgreens said, look, we had to increase security of our stores because this type of looting happened. And because that type of increase happened, the goods and services had to go up that they're offering, but it wasn't enough. And so they still had to close down those 5 locations. But city officials said, no, we don't believe that, Walgreens, because it was already part of your business plan to close 200 stores across the United States. My thing is why can't both be true? Why can't it be of, hey, you know what? We're already taking a loss because of COVID-19. That was part of their business plan. And they're saying, look, we're going to close 200 stores. Of those 200, why don't we close down these stores as well? We're already taking losses. We're having to buy extra security. And the cost is just too high to be running these stores with this type of looting happening. It's not worth business to be in these locations and these localities. Now, a lot of these localities are going to be low income areas, high crime areas. That's also changing right now. And this has major impacts for us in the suburban areas, or you across the other states that go, well, this isn't going to happen to me. Our community is great. This is the problem, folks. It's trickling down into low crime areas. Rodeo Drive got looted. We're going to see in a moment Nordstrom's, Louis Vuitton, like these nice stores in these low crime, high wealth areas are now being looted because it has trickle down effects. As the Daily Wire reported on Monday, 3 stores in San Francisco were looted by mobs or thieves over the weekend. For instance, in the town of Walnut Creek, 30 minutes outside San Francisco, 80 individuals equipped with ski masks, pepper spray, and crowbars robbed a Nordstrom. Multiple employees were assaulted. 80 people. This has now become organized. Why? Because they know they can get away with this shit. They know they're getting away with it. They've seen video upon video on YouTube, on Rumble, on TikTok, all these social media sites of people just walking in, again, literally with duffel bags. And I'll try to add some videos up here for you guys just to see what I'm talking about, because this is nuts. And I don't like I'm controlling my cussing. I don't really like the cuss, folks. This is bullshit. But this is the type of stuff you get when you elect leftists, when you elect Democrats, and there is a difference between the two, but I'm gonna lump them together for the sake because they go hand in hand here. When you elect them into your localities, which is why you need to get out to the polls and not allow these people to run your areas, your neighborhoods, because it's only going to get worse and worse from where you live. It might be good now. So was where I lived. 20 years ago, it was great. Now it's turning into dog shit because you got these people running this stuff, folks. You got these people that don't have a clue on how to run a city, and they're all worried about discrimination. They're all worried about inequities, and they only want to create equality, and they don't understand how these things work. And that's what I want to get into here. Experts mocked after saying California crime spree isn't looting, but rather organized robbery. See, this is where the left gets into this manipulation of language, right? Because you don't want to be rude. You don't want to be unsympathetic to people that are freaking looting stores and stealing shit. We have to be sympathetic to these people that are committing crimes. You see it all the time with the left. You see with Joe Biden with giving illegal immigrants $450,000, which I believe is more than a soldier's family gets when he dies overseas fighting for our country. This is the thinking of the left, man. It drives you up a wall, right? It has to drive you up a wall. They say, don't call it looting, call it organized robbery. Police and law enforcement experts in California are saying that the recent surge of smash and grab thefts in California shouldn't be called looting. Why? Get this. Because that term carries racial connotations. Unbelievable. I mean, there's a problem in one's own mind if they hear about looting and they automatically attribute it to a race. That's probably an issue, right? But look, it's looting. You're stealing shit. It could be organized robbery, organized crime, organized looting, organized theft, whatever you want to call it. Who cares? It's a vernacular, it's language. And they're losing their shit over it. Why? Because there is disparities out there that show that there's certain races that commit certain crimes, and they want to try to limit that. And how are they going to limit that? By stop policing these certain crimes so that those numbers get changed. It doesn't matter which race it is. It can be a bunch of white people. Look, if you're a bunch of white people that are looting shit, you should stop looting shit. I don't care what the stats say. If there's a difference between black people, white people, Asian people, whatever it is, they're looting. And it needs to be stopped. That has prompted a spokesperson for the San Diego Police Department to call the thefts organized robbery, according to a new report. The large-scale thefts are considered looting under the California Penal Code, according to the report Tuesday by ABC affiliate KGO. The Penal Code defines looting as theft or burglary during a state of emergency, local emergency, or evacuation order resulting from an earthquake, fire, flood, riot, or other natural or man-made disasters, the report said. As the Bay Area grapples with the wave of seemingly organized smash and grab robberies this weekend, not just a weekend, again, not just the weekend, folks. This is how they do it. This is how the left, this is how these people manipulate stuff to make you think, well, it's not happening all the time. No, this is happening all the time. Okay, it is a mass. I live in this state. It is happening everywhere. They're bullshitting us. And I'm so tired of it. And I'm not going to allow it to happen. And that's why sometimes I think it's okay to cuss, because you need to see the impact through one's voice of how big of an issue this is. But some cops are still using the term, the Louis Vuitton store was burglarized and looted. Louis Vuitton, not a cheap place, usually don't place their locations in low income areas because they know people can't afford it. And that's not a dig or a jab at low income people. It just makes sense on a business perspective of why would you build or place a Louis Vuitton that's very expensive in a low income area when you know that your customer base isn't usually from or living in that area. Okay. So I don't want people to go, oh, you're discriminating against these people, blah, blah, blah. I'm not. I'm just merely stating a fact. The Burberry in Westfield Mall was burglarized and looted, said San Francisco Police Chief Bill Scott in a press conference to reporters Saturday. San Jose Police spokesman Sergeant Christian Camilo has taken umbrage with the term. We are talking about two incidents. We're not going to call this looting, he said, of the thefts. This is organized robbery. That's what it is. Interesting. A rash of flash thefts have occurred across California in San Jose, Santa Ana Row, Hayward, and Walnut Creek. In each, waves of thieves, in one instance, more than 100 stormed into a store and stole as much as they could carry. But calling the thefts looting carries a racist connotation, according to Boyd, a professor of criminal justice and community policing at the University of New Haven and a former police officer. See, right when it said police officer, professor is, because I'm a big advocate of police officers. A lot of my friends are police officers, so I just misspoke. But this person is a professor. Usually at universities, professors are going to be which side of the aisle, folks? Left or right? Left or right? Left here. Especially when they're starting to scare, well, it carries racist connotations. Why? Like, it's kind of racist for you to assume somebody's race when you just hear the word looting. So which race are you talking about here? That's my question. They keep saying, well, it carries racist connotations. How the hell does somebody's individualized decisions going in and looting a store have to do with racism? I mean, it's remarkable. And you know, I know what the left's argument is. Well, because of this country was built on systemic racism and systemic injustices that privileges the white man, that these people couldn't afford these types of goods and services. And so because they're being suppressed, they have to go and make these individualized actions of looting these stores and committing this theft and robbery because they've been suppressed for so long that they deserve this type of good and service, or whatever the hell it's going to be, right? They'll make some cockamamie story here on why it's okay for certain people or certain groups to go in and do this. Quote, looting is a term that typically used when people of color or urban dwellers are doing something, he said. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's racist. Sorry, there's no way around it. That is racist. There's white people that commit looting. What? I mean, to just kind of go towards people of color. I mean, there's just as many people of color, if not more white people than people of color that probably commit looting, right? That probably are in low income areas. I mean, what an astonishing statement. We tend not to use that term for other people when they do the exact same thing. That's bullshit. We do. Again, I said at the beginning of the show, I don't care which race you are. If you're looting, if you're theft, if you're committing any crime, you're a scumbag. Who cares about your race? As if the color of your skin, the amount of melanin that you produce, is going to somehow trigger some sort of synapses for you to go steal a bunch of goods. The amount of racism really that the left can get away with in their language is truly astonishing. He also said the smash and grabs were not connected to the Ryle Rittenhouse verdict. These types of massive organized smash and grabs were happening before the Rittenhouse situation because it happens cynically, he said. It is a false equivalency. It's people trying to politicize crime. It's because of your propositions that you guys put in place in these leftist areas all across the not United States, but specifically California. But I'm sure it's across the United States as well, because this is only happening in leftist areas predominantly. The new woke language drew mockery on social media. Quote, apparently the new politically correct term is for looting is massive organized smash and grabs, ? Okie dokie. One person wrote on Twitter. Another person wrote, the most San Francisco response possible to the utter lawlessness occurring is to debate the words used to describe it. And that's kind of what I led with as well. The manipulation of wording. How are we going to craft narratives to fit our narratives here? Well, now they're saying looting, theft, robbery, any sort of crime you're committing is all due to racism. Everything to the left has to do with racism. At no point can people take responsibility for their individualized decisions. Those decisions that they make of committing a crime was somebody else's fault. See, and those people's fault that it could have been, in some cases and scenarios for the left and their arguments, they could be dead by now. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, they're calling racist now. See, these people were the result of these people now in the future, right now in the present time, doing these types of actions. Why? Because somehow they're suppressed. Somehow they can't make good decisions in their life to not do things like this. White, black, Asian, I don't care what you are, you shouldn't be looting. But this is what happens when you promulgate certain policies like Prop 47 that allow people to go into these stores and steal anything basically less than $1,000 without anything happening. They call it's a misdemeanor, folks. Just so you know how this works, basically a misdemeanor has to be reported and committed an arrest by a private citizen. Basically, if I were to see somebody committing these types of crimes, I would have to initiate the arrest, or I'd have to initiate this whole thing going forward. The police just can't come in and conduct a felony and do all these things, basically. And that's from a police chief, I believe in San Francisco, stated that. I forget his name, but that's how this works. So police aren't policing this thing. I asked a buddy from the LA Sheriff's Department on what's going on here. He didn't have much to say about that. Again, a lot of my friends are police officers, not just in Orange County, but also Los Angeles. They're not policing this stuff. It's just going. Are they going to sit there and look at the security camera footage and go through all that when there's all this other crime going on? You think they're going to spend their time with somebody stealing thousands of lipsticks, toothpaste? I mean, this is Walgreens and CVS. It's not like a Louis Vuitton, right? Where you're stealing purses and stuff. But it's just remarkable that the left can sit there and be okay with this type of behavior and then attribute it to racism. Attribute it to your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault because you're white. You have all this privilege, right? Because you could walk into Walgreens, CVS, and purchase some lip balm, right? Some lipstick, some mouthwash. But because they can't afford it. They can't afford it, folks. Don't you see? We're a impoverished nation. We're a third world country. We can't feed ourselves. Which, by the way, is remarkable that they're using that type of language, because usually in high crime areas, the prices of goods are actually increased because of this type of crime, because they have to increase security. And what do they call that? The left, they call it discrimination, right? Discrimination on one group as opposed to another group. This is just, it's out of hand. Don't move to the state. I'm serious. Don't move to the state. Rent is going up. Prices are going up. Gas, again, is hitting $8 in some areas, guys. I'm not even kidding. The state is just, it's so tough. And I know I'm ranting here and I'm going to end soon, but when you lived I got to form my thoughts here. When you've lived in one state your entire life, you love it. The weather here is great. The beaches are great for the most part, other than the homeless situation that's going on. This place used to be amazing. And what the left did was it turned an amazing place into a heap of garbage. And the tough thing is do I want to leave? Yeah, because I want to live in a nicer area with nicer people that actually give a shit about their localities, that give a shit about their state. But here it's just like people just throw trash on the ground, not care. They'll shit in the street and not just leave it there. Human feces just sitting there. They'll throw razor blades in the parks for the kids to pick up. There's syringes everywhere. And when I talk like this, people go, well, that's probably not everywhere. When you go to these places, downtown LA, now Hollywood, any place that's kind of thousands of people live in one area, you're going to see this stuff. There is literally an app in our state of California that will show us where all the people are defecating at so you can walk around it. So when people are starting to create apps for the stuff to show you where the syringes are, right? The feces, all this stuff, do you think there's a little bit of a problem in that state? But they're not going to police this stuff. The way that you're going to handle this and fix all this stuff, you got to police it. Throw these people in jail and arm yourself. I'll tell you what, if you had 80 people storming a Nordstrom, and I understand that there's obviously a lot more that goes into this because this is a corporation, but mom and pop stores, arm yourself. I'll tell you what, you start putting a couple rounds into these people when they're coming in, they ain't going to be looting your shit. That's the thing, is that we've gone so soft on people just protecting their privacy and their property and throwing those people in jail, but we're not throwing the people in jail that are actually committing the robberies. I mean, everything from the state of California to the federal government is taking things in the wrong direction for this country. On a social fabric level, because we're allowing this shit to happen. And I understand I'm ranting and I'm going on longer than I want, but it's frustrating because this has ramifications to all of us. And we should be all pissed about this. And seeing that this is happening in California, there's a good possibility that at some point, it's going to happen in your locality. And what are we going to do about it as citizens? Are we going to continue to allow our politicians to do this? Are we going to continue to allow our politicians to sit there and just allow other people to run roughshod over our localities, our neighborhoods? Are we going to continue to allow Black Lives Matter to just loot whenever the hell they want? Look, if they want to peacefully protest, I'm all for it. Walk in the streets with your pickets and all that stuff. Some of the stuff they say, I'm on board with. Do I actually think that Black Lives Matter? Yes. That phrase, of course. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? I also think white lives matter. I also think Asian lives matter. I think a life is a life. Now, other things you go with, Black Lives Matter, BLM, I am not on board with. But there are some things you say where I'm like, hey, I can get behind that. But it's when you loot, I'm not saying all this looting has to do with Black Lives Matter. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when there's ever violence in the streets where a white person kills a black person, there tends to be some looting, right? We dealt with that in 2020. We dealt with that in 2019 where you're looting, you're burning down places. And African-American business owners are taking the hit too. So it can't be just like you for your racial equity, whatever you want to call it. You just want to go out there and get a free TV, some freaking Yeezys or whatever here, lipstick, lip balm, toothpaste. I don't know what else you get from freaking Walgreens. Some dish soap, some Dawn dish soap. We all know that's good. Some Arm & Hammer to do your laundry. But I mean, again, if these people need this type of stuff, how are they doing their laundry then, right? According to the left. They can't afford it. You know, they have to get the Arm & Hammer. I can go on forever about this. It is so frustrating. And sometimes I think it's nice to hear shows that sit there and rant because we're all in the same boat. Look, I'm not a corporation. I do this show in the closet, literally in a closet. And I'm just speaking my mind here. And again, as I've said, this is mostly for myself and to relate with other people on just another American citizen that's just fed up with this shit. Look, I'm a conservative. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to get along. That's not always going to be the case. And I just want to live my life with the government leaving me the hell alone and doing their job of protection. And they're not doing the basic fundamental job of a government as a politician to protect its citizens when you're allowing robbery and theft to fucking run rampant all across the state. And then they can't figure it out. Why are people leaving? Oh, they're racist, right? They're racist because they don't agree with the organized robbery and looting because of racial connotations. Those are the racists. See, if you don't agree with this, if you're okay with this, you're not a racist. If you're not okay with this, you are a racist because you don't understand your biases. See, whether it's conscious or unconscious biases, you're going to be a racist because you're not on board with this. You don't see the connections from the past to the present on how these, whatever color of people, doesn't matter, white, black, or whatever, you don't see the injustices that they had from the past. You don't see why they have to loot this stuff. You don't understand, right? You don't walk in their shoes. This is all the stuff the left would say. And because you don't understand those things, it's because of your privilege. You're blind. You don't see it. You're a bigot. See how this works? It's so stupid. You're an asshole if you loot. I'm sorry, you are. Somebody had to buy those goods and services, and you just stole them. And now we're getting in the realm of socialism because these people deserve this stuff. See how socialism works, right? We're the fact that you're breathing, thus you deserve. You didn't work for that. You did nothing other than walk into a store, and sometimes you run into the store, you steal the stuff, and you run out. And the left is okay with it. The left is going to destroy this country from the inside out. And I'm not kidding. I'm writing a whole book on it. By the way, almost done with it. Got like half a chapter left. So if you guys know any publishers or anything like that can help me out with that, by the way, just throwing it out there. I need some help finding editors, things like that. So if anybody knows a content editor, I need one by the end of December. But with that being said, they are going to ruin this country from the inside out if we allow it. And it's up to us as the average American citizen to sit there and go to the polls, speak our mind, get on YouTube, start your own show or whatever, or spread this one so this type of stuff doesn't happen. But there you go. The left is going to continue to run this country into the ground if we don't do anything about it. And we're seeing that through this robbery, this looting stuff, this discrimination message they're trying to push, CRT, all this stuff, folks. They're going to sit there and continue to push it. and run roughshod over all of us Americans and take our liberties and our freedoms from us. With that being said, thank you so much for watching the Bald Brad Show. Thank you for always for listening to me rant. Hopefully we shared some commonalities in our frustrations with our government officials here, as well as the left. And make sure you like and subscribe to this video, share it with your friends and family all over social media, and I'll see you next time here on the Bald Brad Show.